Hello, Flower Power Cruise friends. Your cruise host, Jason here. Thank you for tuning in to the Peter Asher All Access Pass. Now, we did this interview live today on a recording app called Zoom, which is wonderful. This is certainly no knock on them. Zoom is wonderful, and we're going to continue to use them. But we did experience, for all of you watching this that were there, something known as Zoom bombing, meaning that somehow our code got out there to the general public, and some people not involved in our group, not part of the Flower Power Cruise, jumped in and put some inappropriate comments and content on the screen. We've quickly learned how to not have that happen in the future, how to control that, and so we'll be better for you going forward. But unfortunately, it did cause us to lose some of the early parts of this interview, but we do have a good chunk here, a little over half hour still of Peter answering a bunch of questions and chatting with you. So do please enjoy all that we do have, and again, our apologies for losing any of the content from earlier, but again, it would not be appropriate to show due to Zoom bombing. If you are a Zoom bomber, you need to get a life, my friends. You need to go find something else to do somewhere else, because there's a lot of people just trying to make it through, a lot of people looking for great content, a lot of people looking to connect with some of their favorite stars and stay present in the moment, and you're not helping anybody. So for all the rest of you, thank you so much for tuning in. Please enjoy All Access Pass with Mr. Peter Asher.
I listen to classical music quite a bit. I listen to jazz. I mean, a little Mahler does me nicely. I'll listen to some jazz. I listen to Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie. Nothing brand new, I have to admit. Jazz from the 40s. And what cropped up? I was listening to Elvis the other day. To some of the Sun Elvis stuff. It was just, I saw it or something on Spotify and started listening and realized how incredibly good those records were. With Scotty Moore and when he's this guy, it's just like acoustic guitar and bass and electric guitar, and that's it. And it rocks like every record dreams of rocking. It's it really is. I don't head in any particular direction. It's usually something else that makes me think of something or brings it to my attention. Someone mentions it, I go, oh, I haven't heard that for a long time. And you listen to it and realize why it's so good. I mean, like things like that Ace record of How Long Has This Been Going On, which is such a great song.
Yep.
And it's on a TV commercial now. There's something around. It's on a lot. Must be making a fortune. It's Paul Carrack, I think, who sings that. I think maybe he wrote it too. I'm not sure. And to the point where the whole chord change at the beginning is so super cool that I had to actually figure out what the hell it was. And that took me a while, because it's got that weird bass note that sustains throughout and then slides up through the minor into the melody. It's great. So I listened to that a bunch of times so I could figure out the chords, which I've probably forgotten already. But things like that, I love it, the fact that some TV commercial will remind you how that great record. And then I went back and played it, and it's a masterpiece.
The Bodie wrote this directly on the page, but about 5 people have asked me privately. We love the look, Peter. I love that you're growing a beard.
Well, I figured, if there are any advantages to being a hermit, it's you don't have to shave.
Yeah. So Peter Noon's got one going too. Everyone has one right now.
So I figured, what the hell? Yeah.
It's
a bit white. I may end up looking like Father Christmas in the end, but we'll see.
Maggie, actually, let's try this. Janine, can you unmute Maggie? Maggie Bedow?
Let's see.
We're going to try to do this. We'll see if we can do it.
Maggie used it. Almost.
Maggie, try it now.
Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled. Thank you, Jason and Peter.
Hi, Maggie.
Can't wait to see you again. I've been on all the Flower Power cruises, so I always appreciate you.
Really?
But yeah, you're so fantastic. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about any James Taylor stories. Of course, I've already got my tickets to see him when he's going on,
back on tour.
It's going to happen. But
yeah, he's touring with Jackson. He's doing a lot with Jackson, then which will be great. I love Jackson Browne, although he's ill now. He's got it. He's got the plague, but apparently he's okay. But Jackson is, and James and Jackson are supposed to be out together, and then he's also doing Fenway Park in Boston with Brandy Carlisle and Sean Colvin. And that's a great bill. I think I may try to go to that one.
Mm.
But James' stories, God, yes. But it's a question of what kind of stories. And I mean, I talked about how we met and how I signed him and everything. He, you know, well, I'll tell you, when we were making that first album, you know, we made it at Trident Studios, and you know, we took an ad in the paper actually to look for musicians, and found a couple that we really liked. And James had a drummer friend who was in London with him, so we were going to make the album there. And I already knew some of the songs we were going to put on it because when I very first met James, he had played me his tape and picked up a guitar and played some live. And somewhere in there, he had played Something in the Way She Moves, Something's Wrong, Walking Around the Zoo, and Brighten Your Night with My Day, all of which I was super impressed by, all of which I knew were going to go on the record. But I thought we needed one or two more great songs. And at one point, it was either right before we started or when we took a break, and I can't remember which, he went away for 2 weeks, and he went to the island of Ibiza, which at the time was a wholly uninhabited, undeveloped, no hotels, slept on the beach in tents or whatever, island. Now, of course, it's very commercial, but and now it's the home of all the dance music craze things and discos, what used to be called discos and stuff like that. But then he went off to the secluded island for a week, I think, and then came back through Mallorca and flew back to London. And when he came, he said, "I've written a new song while I was in Ibiza," and he explained to me that he'd written a song about homesickness because he was feeling very homesick, despite the fact that, as he also explained, he didn't have a home at the time. He'd come to the realization that you don't have to have a home to be homesick, that it's a more generalized feeling than that. So that was Carolina in my mind. And I distinctly remember when he took his guitar out, come back from Ibiza and said, "Let me play you this new song." And he played me Carolina in my mind. I said, "That'll do," or words to that effect.
That'll be all right. We'll do something with it. Maggie, you rock. It's good to see you and hear you, my dear.
Thanks,
Norma.
Maggie.
Glad to
Thank
have you
you.
with us.
Thank you.
Of course. Roseanne says, how about if a movie was made of your life, and you've had this 100 times, who would you like to cast as you?
Ed Sheeran. Done. The funny thing is, there was a point where, I mean, obviously depending me at which age, but I'm assuming it's that age, you know. You know, I think, I mean, he's about 25 now, so yes,
Yeah.
he could look a little bit younger and play me and Peter and Gordon, and then he can play me, you know, make him a little bit older, and he can play me discovering James and moving on to all that other stuff. And there actually was, at one point, they were going to make a movie of that book, The Longest Cocktail Party, about the Beatles. The movie rights were owned by, what's his name, Oasis,
Gallagher.
Liam Gallagher. And they were going to make a movie of it, and of the Apple days. You know, it's a book about life at Apple. And at that point, they actually said, oh, half jokingly, you know, well, because I'm in it, obviously, in the script. It never got made. But they said, you know, who should play you? And I said, well, it actually is one obvious choice. And so I did actually, in conversation with Ed, he probably doesn't even remember this, but at one point I said to him, look, you know, if they make this movie, will you play me? And he went, sure. So that's the answer to the question. Ed Sheeran can play me, and he'd do it very well. He's already shown he's a good actor. He looks about right, and everything's cool.
Well, and you've discussed actually on stage many a times, we've chatted about that, you know, people think that and talk about the fact that Austin Powers might have loosely been based on a young Peter Asher.
Yeah, that is true. It's based not on so much on the real young Peter Asher, but there were some pictures of me that did apparently provide inspiration for Mike Myers. Inexplicably, he decided that haircut and the Buddy Holly glasses and the crooked teeth was the perfect look for the international international man of mystery. So that was it. That's how that happened. Yes.
Debbie says, Peter, are you still friends or in contact with Paul?
Off and on. Not with any great frequency, but we run into each other, and it's one of those things where you embrace and say, "How have you been? We must get together someday," and then you don't. But
Yeah.
I see more of Ringo than Paul, actually, because Ringo's in LA much more. But yeah, Paul and I see each other from time to time and speak to them.
Amy says, "We love your book, The Beatles from A to Z, but when will you write your autobiography?"
I turned that down so far consistently. I have no plans to write one. I think it's partly because everyone, even mildly associated with the Beatles, has written an autobiography, and I just keep putting it off. I don't know if I ever will.
But in fairness, Peter, and I think everyone on this chat will certainly agree, you're so much more than just mildly associated with the Beatles. I mean, you are Peter Asher in your own right. You know, your association
Yes.
with the Beatles is completely arbitrary,
Right,
no offense,
right.
compared to
I
who
know.
you are and
But
what
it
you've
just,
done. So,
well, that's true. I've done a lot of other stuff other than Beatle related, but I don't know. I might change my mind, but at the moment, I'm still declining those offers.
well, Carmen Carey Diaz Ballister says, question for Peter. How are you spending your time at home these days? What keeps you occupied?
Oh, same thing. Listening to music, watching a lot of TV, Netflix.
Do you have any go-to shows? Do you have any go-to
Yes.
Netflix? What are you
Giri
watching?
Haji. You know about that?
Which one?
Giri Haji.
I don't. What is it?
Girihaji. It's brilliant.
Written down. What is it?
It's a Japanese British cop show. 8 episodes. Terrific cast. What?
Is it
Netflix.
Netflix?
Netflix.
Everyone has their next binge watch. There you go, friends.
It's shot in Tokyo and in London. The Japanese part, obviously, with subtitles. And but everyone in it's brilliant. There's a Scottish actress who plays the lead English detective, whose name I forget, but who's wonderful. I've seen her in various other things. It's really, really good. I recommend it highly.
Good to know. Devin says, thank you so much for doing this interview. Our photo with you at the vow renewal last year is front and center in our living room. The vows you used from the Bob Marley song were perfect for the occasion. Question. That's just the comment. Then the question goes a completely different direction. What's your favorite foods, city, country, and musical artists? There you go. 4 questions in one. So let's start first. Do you have a preferred food or a top 5 or, favorites?
I would go, I suppose, with traditional British food. I love
one ever. Oh.
Great roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, shepherd's pie.
A
all
true
that
traditionalist.
Stuff. Oh yes, true. It's a proper old Englishman, and also like most old Englishmen, I love Indian food, which is much better in England than it is in America, generally speaking.
Yes.
And I love terrific Indian food. I suppose those would be my 2 favorites.
And do you have a favorite?
I love
city?
Italian food. I couldn't leave Italian food.
Nobody can. Nobody can.
Italian is probably the best food in the world, but
Yeah.
I'd still go for British or Indian.
Do you have a favorite city around the planet to visit? Or favorites?
Well, I mean, the ones I visit most, of course, are LA, where I live, New York, and London, and I love all 3. I'm very lucky in that I've an apartment in New York and in London, so which makes life easy, and I love both those cities. And I miss them when I'm not there, especially London.
That's fair.
Other than those 3,
what if you're going on holiday?
Not to a city, usually.
Yeah.
I suppose. I love Scotland. I like quite wild places. I haven't been on holiday for a while, but I don't think I would choose one of those 3. I don't know exactly. Other cities, I do like Tokyo. It's a fascinating city.
Tokyo is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And what about country? Is there a country as a whole that you've enjoyed particularly visiting?
Australia, I would say. Terrific. And those are great cities too. Sydney and Melbourne, fantastic cities.
Australia is pretty amazing.
Great music, great people. I mean, Australia is really something else. I mean, everyone, when you first go there, especially if you're coming from Britain, you get to Australia in the first week, you're kind of going, this is such a great place. If only it wasn't so far away. And then
Yeah.
by the end, next week's over, you go, far away from what? And you realize that you're thinking from a very London-centric perspective.
Yeah. And what about, and this is the hardest one for you. Do you have a specific favorite musical artist?
Gosh, no. Too many. I mean, you can't compare them, how could
Yeah.
you say whether you're an Elvis fan or a James Taylor fan or a Billie Eilish fan? They're, they're not comparable. They're literally not comparable. So I don't know who's my favorite, but all those three are right up there at the moment.
That works. By the way, Maggie says hello again to everybody. And Maggie wants, if you would be so kind, to do a shout out on not you, Peter, but everybody in general on the chat. Where's everybody from? If you want to put it in the chat, you're more than welcome to continue
right.
down there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Question from Benton Nelson. How close were you to the other British invasion groups? Did you all actually hang out and swap songs, or was it pretty isolated?
We got to know each other quite often through TV shows, because the one thing we all did was shows like Thank You Lucky Stars, Top of the Pops, and Ready Steady Go. There'd always been several acts on, so that's when you got to all meet each other. And occasionally, of course, we were all on the road together, because back then the tours were all package tours. They'd all have 4 or 5 acts on, and you would end up hanging out together backstage. And then there also were a couple of clubs in London, like the Speakeasy and the Scotch St. James, that people used to go to late and hang out together. And so, yes, you would find yourself drinking with, Keith Moon or whatever. Always Keith Moon. He was always there, and people like that. So I don't remember so much song swapping, but I do remember generally hanging out and having the occasional beverage.
Occasional.
Yes.
David, Janine, let's do this again. Can we unmute David Molnar? David, are you live? Oh, David, can you hear us? Oh, okay. You got to unmute yourself there. We can't hear you yet. The beauties of live. Everyone's bearing with us here.
Is he still muted? I can't see him.
Yeah, he's still he hasn't he's having an issue with sound. So I'll ask your question for you, David. Any stories from your TV appearances with Peter and Gordon? Were they as hectic as they seemed?
Do you mean in America or in England, or what? I'm curious what TV shows he's thinking of. They weren't generally that hectic. I wonder which ones he's referring to.
He's going to follow up, but tell us a little bit about the TV appearances with Peter and Gordon.
Can we make him live, or no? We can't. It's not working.
Well, no. We're working on his sound.
Okay. So. All right. Cool. Yeah, they're all very different. The ones, and I've talked about this a lot in my show, but the ones we enjoyed the most were the ones where you got to sing live, because they were particularly unhectic if you were lip syncing.
Yeah.
Nothing could go wrong, really. I mean, and indeed, some people would always take the piss out of the whole lip syncing thing and be playing each other's instruments or, stuff like that. Whereas the ones that were a little bit nerve-wracking and much more interesting and fun were, of course, when you was doing live. And the live ones in America were Ed Sullivan, Shindig on the East Coast, and Hullabaloo on the West Coast. Those were all using their musicians. We would sing live and rehearse, and it was exciting and fun. Whereas when you did, even American Bandstand, which is a big show, it was lip sync. So you honestly.
Did you prefer one to the other?
Prefer live by far.
Live, yeah.
Yeah, because we like singing, and we like working with different musicians. And lip sync, as I say, every TV show essentially was the same because your performance was going to be identical. So other than making funny faces, you couldn't do anything. There's nothing you could do.
Yeah. And when you think back and look at those days and compare them to the produce, not that you weren't always a producer, but comparing them more so to now, do you prefer the live performance? Do you prefer producing? Do you prefer managing? Do you have a preference, or does it all kind of roll into one for you?
What I'd answer that is this. My preference is the fact that I get to do all of the above. I mean, that's certainly what I like the most
Yeah.
relish the most is that I get to do all these different things. If I had to decide to restrict myself to one aspect of the career, it probably would be record production. I think I mean, I love being in the studio. I love working with great musicians, and I love making a record come out right, trying to as best I can.
Dave, thank you for that answer. David, by chance, did we get you fixed?
Hello?
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi,
Ian.
David.
Yep.
Is that you with the tank?
Yes, that is with me with the tank
Is
in
it you?
Normandy.
Is it your tank?
I wish it was my tank.
We could all use a tank now, right?
Yeah.
Well, David,
So-
we've got you unmuted. You're live with Peter. What do you have to say, sir?
So I was in relation to the TV appearances. If
Yeah.
you go to YouTube, there's like a very famous a performance of you singing "A World Without Love," and I'm not sure what show that was. But overall, I think like a lot of the TV appearances in those days seemed very hectic to me. I don't know why.
I wonder why, in terms of a lot of audience building about, or I wonder
think-
which World Without Love it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the audience and like there's videos I've seen with the Byrds where the audience is like right next to the band, just like dancing around and playing.
Well, the one that was always like that was Ready Steady Go. There's a very good
I think that was the
documentary
one.
actually. Someone just sent me a documentary on Ready Steady Go, which is terrific, and explaining what Ready Steady Go was like, and that they did it that way because they were in such a small studio. When they got to produce the show, the BBC gave them this tiny studio. ITV, sorry, independent television, gave them this tiny studio. So that's why you can see the other cameras. The cameras are pushing their way through the audience, and the audience is right squished up against the band, and that ended up giving the show this very special vibe, love. That show started off lip sync, but by the end it was live as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much for your question, David.
Very cool.
Kim,
Thank you.
no problem. Thank you, David. Kim Schroeder. Let's go over to Kim. Janine, do you mind unmuting Kim? Kim, we're going to get you unmuted and get you live here, and then you've got to unmute from your side. Kim, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, we do.
Yes, we
have
can.
you.
Hi.
Awesome. Great. Hi, Peter. Thank you for
Hi.
letting me speak.
No, thank
I
you.
was just wondering, you said you did some television shows. Did you ever perform with Power Beer and the Raiders on their show in the afternoons?
We did. Was that Where the Action Is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, we actually
Yes.
have pictures of you with where the action is.
Yeah,
Those guys.
we did Where the Action Is, and I think they were always on that, so I guess that was their show in that sense. Yes, we did.
Oh,
That's the one that was done very close to where I'm currently sitting. I think it was done somewhere in Malibu, somewhere towards Santa Monica, somewhere on the way into town. Somewhere on the beach down there. I think somewhere near the Santa Monica Pier or something like that. I seem to remember. And yes, we did that show several times. It was fun.
very cool. They're a fun group.
Yeah, they are indeed. And I saw Mark Lindsay somewhere not long ago.
Mhm.
He's just fine.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Kim. Question for Jeff. Maggie, can we go back to Maggie, Janine? Maggie, there you are. Hi, Maggie.
Hi there. Okay.
This-
Yeah,
this one's for
Jeff, I
Jeff.
really wanted to go to some of your shows in LA recently, the Beatles shows that you were doing, like Rubber Soul, and are you going to be doing those again?
Yes, our Peter's manager and my manager Keith Putney puts these shows on, and we just we did Rubber Soul, Abbey Road, Revolver, the White Album, and we have one. Well, whenever everything lifts, probably sometime in the fall, we're going to do another one. I don't know what it's going to be. It might be Let It Be, or it might be the Beatles' second album, because people have asked for that, which is an American one, of course, that Peter has no idea what that even means when it comes to Beatle albums that were released in America.
Oh,
But yeah, we'll be doing more of those. So
oh, great. Yay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Peter, before we let you go, I do want to ask, we've done our best to try to, and everybody, Christine, we'll come to you in 1 second. Don't worry, I won't get out here without you. I know we're doing our best, obviously, you and every other Flower Power artist and Starvest Alive. I compliment Janine and Starvest Alive on this as well. To kind of, we're not ignoring, we're not pretending that the reality of the world isn't the reality, but we also are trying to skip into the what's positive and remember the good times and stay with each other and, keep a little Flower Power love going here. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you your thoughts on the current climate and kind of what's going on and what the world is all facing. We're all obviously watching this or chatting from our own homes as opposed to on the cruise itself. How are you feeling? What's on your mind these days?
I mean, I'm fine. I'm very lucky. Because I was in London, when things got really bad. I was deciding whether or not to go. It seemed because I had several meetings in London and people to see and stuff, but I ended up just going. But then that was just around the time they really started to clamp down, and it suddenly looked like things were really getting worse, especially in London. So I actually got to London, turned around, and came home about 2 days later. I got to see a couple of friends. I went out to Fry Park to have lunch with Olivia. But then we both decided we'd better because she wanted to come back to LA too. So she left the day before I did. We both came back here. And in both cases, of course, we were met by the team with thermometers going, when we were both fine. And we were put on 2 weeks lockdown, which just finished. I was here at home, but in the guest house in seclusion. So I'm watching it all, and obviously one's primary emotions are, how horrifying it is for the people who get it, and get it badly, and which isn't everybody by any means, thank goodness, but people who get it badly, it's clearly a terrible disease. So one's overcome by sympathy and by, I've no question that everyone will pull out of it in the end, but it's clearly been a difficult process. And then the other half of me, the half that's the would-be scientist, I just watch it and study it from a statistical and epidemiological perspective, and it's there's a certain grim fascination to how these things work, and what we can control and what we can't, and what we're getting right and what we're getting wrong, and why it took everybody a long time to go, let's get this right, instead of belittling it. There's so many aspects to it, but yeah, in terms of how do I feel as fine as one can feel under the circumstances.
Excellent.
And ultimately, of course, I feel optimistic, but at the same time, there seems to be a general agreement that it's going to get a bit worse before it gets better.
Well, I think that it's obviously a trying time, for everybody. Everyone's dealing with things differently, and I think that you've got. And I was talking to Peter Noon about this a little bit. You have two ends of the spectrum. You have one end of the spectrum, which is the people that are, and again, I'm not saying either one is right or wrong. I'm certainly not casting a shadow of doubt or blame, but you have two ends of the spectrum. You have one end of the spectrum of people that don't think it's real or don't really care about it or underplay it and are kind of doing the whole whatever, I'm not going to stop my life. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is the people that are buying all the toilet paper and clearing out all the canned foods, and stocking up for the long winter, so to speak. So you have both ends of the spectrum, and somewhere in the middle, you assume with everything in life is the correct response.
It's the logical response, the logical, justified by the facts response. Yeah. Exactly. We all know that our actions should be dictated by the science and the statistics and the reality of it, not by fear on the one hand or foolish overconfidence and political nonsense on the other hand.
Yeah, it's really going to be, I'm with you. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see kind of as this too shall pass, as everyone is saying and kind of understanding, we're all going to do our part and stay safe and stay healthy and feel for those that have, come into contact. But at the same time, it will pass, and we'll get through it as a society and as a culture, and as a world, really, as a globe. But it'll be really interesting a year from now to look back and to study, to your point, scientifically, to look back at it with some perspective and some 2020 vision, and no pun intended, and understand kind of how it actually moved and what caused what and what created what. And I think really the most interesting thing is going to be how many children are born in December of this year.
There's that too. Exactly. Well, you see the new thing today is that they're running out of condoms. Did you read that? No, the factories closed down, and a lot of them were made in China or and then some in Malaysia and
Of
stuff. There's a
course,
big
yeah.
story. One in the New York Times yesterday. The world's
telling
about to
you.
run out of condoms, so there will be even more of a baby boom.
A
in
baby
New York.
boom, yeah, the second baby boom is coming. I saw that there's given it a lot of names, but a few years after they're born, they're going to be called the quarantines.
That's right.
There's a
Good.
lot of jokes out
That's a
there
good
about them
one.
right now. Yeah.
That's good. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, December is a good month to be born, Maggie. I'm a December baby too. I'm with you. I'm December. What day, Maggie? Did you say show up your number? Just show your number. What day was it? 27th? Is that what you said? 27th? Nope. Put
No.
it in the bottom. Yeah, 17th. I see it. 17th. I'm the 14th. I'm the 14th. I'm right there. Janine, can you go to Christine, please? And then Keith will come to you in a moment. Christine, can you hear us, Christine?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can. Hi.
Wow, this is
Christine.
awesome. Happy Sunday.
Thank you very
Yay.
much. Happy Sunday to you too.
Thank you guys so much for doing this. And as someone who works in this industry, I'm out working with these hospitals and medical companies and teaching and helping them to do the best they can. This takes a while to get through. We will get through it. So I appreciate the good
Amen.
vibes everybody is sending. Hang in there. The numbers we have are going to get more because we're testing more.
Because we're testing
Yep.
more. Yeah.
Yep.
We're testing more. We're going to find it. But we're going to
Yeah.
come out of this and we're going to be good. I was just wondering, Jeff and Peter, are you guys going to come back to Atlanta? I want to see you. I didn't get to come last
it's a
time
good-
you were here.
It's a good question. I'd love to play Atlanta. I'd like to play. Did we do the City Winery in Atlanta? We did, right?
Yes.
That's where we played.
So how long ago was that?
It was last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we
Unfortunately, I
should
was
go.
out of town.
We should go back there. Yeah, we loved it.
Yeah.
It's great. We love the City Winery. We love Atlanta. So sure, consider it done. We'll come play
Yeah,
Atlanta.
Keith, nod your head if we're booked, ready to go
You-
back to Atlanta.
You can unmute Keith, obviously.
Yeah, unmute
and
Keith,
then,
yeah.
And then we
Keith's here?
can tell everyone who Keith is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keith is the
can you hear
guy
us?
who books all my shows and manages those aspects of my life completely, and is brilliant at it. So
We
You need to
can't-
unmute yourself,
You
Keith.
gotta unmute yourself, Keith. We unmuted you from the master, and then you gotta unmute you.
you can sell a ticket to Atlanta right now, Keith. Go for it.
Keith, come on, man. Come on. It's your time to shine.
Yeah, you guys can all come stay at the house. I'll
Yeah.
cook dinner.
Aw, Christine,
All
I'm
right.
coming too. Then
You can come too.
Thank you.
That's
Everybody,
about
we'll have a big party.
How many people are on this call? 99? Yeah, let's go. Have
Yeah,
a
let's
little,
go. Let's do
Come
it.
on, Paul and Kathy will help me.
Yeah, Paul and Kathy. I saw the boaties. Where'd they go? I saw them.
They're here.
Keith, try your space bar.
I heard you.
The space bar and the thing.
Hit it again.
No.
Hit it one more time. Well, okay. You can put it in the chat if you know when they're going to Atlanta, Keith.
I don't think we do.
If you have any idea when that's coming, you can put it in the chat 'cause we can't hear you. Peter, before we let you go and get back to life over there, anything you want to share? Any words you want to say to all the fine folks that tuned in to be with us for this hour?
No, just we wish we knew when, but we undoubtedly will all see each other on board, and we're looking forward to it very much. And as I say, the lineup is spectacularly good, and Jason's fortunately been able to confirm that pretty much everybody, or ideally everybody, will be there. I will certainly be there, and I look forward to seeing you all then. And there'll be ample opportunities to meet over breakfast or whatever, and continue our conversations.
Side note, by the way, Keith just chimed in and said, possibly based on the world, of course, we discussed a possible Peter Asher birthday date there around June-ish, if we can.
Oh, great. My birthday is June 22nd. So good.
That works. Peter, that's a great message for everybody, and I do appreciate those last final words there. And I do want to add to that, as I said, I can make no promises. Obviously, we're in a very fluid world, but right now. But as of right now, all the artists that we have spoken to that were planned for this year and planned for next year, nobody is showing great concern. No one is, and I'm going to use a horrible term, but no one's panicking or freaking out. No one's, and again, forgive that phrasing. No one's going no one's going off the deep end there. So all the artists that we deal with on the day to day, and all of your favorite people that, you know, the reasons you book these cruises are still very optimistic. They're still very positive. We have been dealing with management and them directly in a lot of cases, and they've been very encouraged and very encouraging, and have said the same thing. You know, we're all just, and I think, Peter, actually, I would end this for you and Jeff by saying the same thing that I'm getting from a lot of these artists. You know, we've spoken to Peter Noon, we've spoken to the Zombies, the Hollies, and, you know, everyone kind of says the same thing. As artists, they can't wait to get back on stage. They're dying not being on stage. It kills them.
Yeah, that's true. They want to get back on stage. They love the feeling of it, and they like to make a living as well. Just that.
Amen to that. Well, to all of our friends that are dialed in here, thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you for bearing with us through our opening phase there of trial and tribulation.
Right.
I think Maggie said it to me a moment ago, or said it on the chat there, that yeah, it's a way to start. This is a memorable one for me too. I think we might have.
Exactly. Yeah.
For any of you, by the way, that have friends or people that were trying to dial in, please explain to them our apologies, but somehow our Zoom chat title got out there, and so they call it Zoom bombing or something like that, and it's become a very common thing. So we're just gonna have to be a little more careful as to how we share, but tell them we will put this, we will edit a bit, of course, as I said on the chat, and we will put this on the YouTube channel for people to watch and see. So from all of you, thank you for joining us. And Peter and Jeff and Keith, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We adore you. We love you. We hope you stay healthy, safe, and look forward to having you back with us here on the next cruise.
Thank you, Jason. Brilliantly done. Thank you, Janine.
Thank you,
And
everybody.
bye to everybody. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being part of All Access Pass. Tune in every day. We've got another one for you with another one of your favorite stars. Me here in my home and they in their homes. Love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Mwah. Be well.